What is going on, Panther Lair? We are back talking about the Pittsburgh Panthers road loss to the Louisville Cardinals. Now, I've talked a little bit earlier about how I thought Pitt's offense gets stale and stagnant anytime they try to force feed the ball into Cam Corrin, or when they try to look for him to initiate offense pretty far away from the basket, because I think he's kind of limited there. And a lot of times both of those things lead to turnovers. I also talked about how the defense has been struggling a lot lately, particularly guards not being able to navigate screens really well and also losing the point of the attack. But I think of all the things that were really frustrating in this game against Louisville, it was probably the wasted possessions that Pitt would go into down the stretch of what was a 1 and 2 possession game for a large part of the second half. So we're going to dive into some of those sequences here. So this first one I'm going to start with is when Pitt retook the lead in the second half. So Brandon Cummings got fouled hitting a three-pointer. He missed the free throw that would have tied the game, but then Zach Austin makes a tip dunk off of a Jalen Lowe layup miss to give them the lead 48-47. Brandon Cummings gets fouled, goes to the free throw line, makes both. And then this is right after Terrence Edwards had missed a three-pointer. So Pitt has a lot of momentum here is the point. They're getting fouled. Austin's hitting a three. He's hit threes. I think they hit 3 threes already to this point. And, he had just made a pretty nice tip dunk. But this is the next possession, and Jalen Lowe uses the entire possession dribbling the ball out, never really gets below the three-point line at any point, and then ends up taking a contested three-pointer over the guy on the floor for Louisville that you would most likely want to attack off the dribble. So that is how that possession goes. So this would be now after Louisville gets the ball back, they go down the floor, run some offense. Terrence Edwards does get a layup, so now it is just a 1-point game. So how does Pitt respond this time? Well, they go down the floor, they get the ball to Ishmael Leggett, and they decide, hey, it's your turn to just dribble this ball into oblivion here. And he tries to do a fadeaway, going to his left, having to turn back right, misses the shot. Okay, so we're going to fast forward a little bit here. Pitt again with a 3-point lead, after Austin had made a three-pointer from the right side off of a pretty nice assist. I'm actually really not sure how Lowe got the ball out there. And a nice catch on Zach Austin's part, catching the ball and still coming down with his feet in bounds. Lowe gets blocked here and then doesn't really come back into the play. And because of that, Louisville's able to go down the floor and they get a easy dunk here by James Scott, who I also want to mention only had two field goals in this entire game, and you're going to see both of them in this video. So Scott comes down, brings Louisville to within 62-61 Pitt. Now Pitt comes down, they commit an offensive foul on a screen by Jalen Lowe, turn the ball over. Ishmael Leggett fouls Chucky Hepburn on the other end. Hepburn goes to the free throw line, makes both, so now it is 62-63 Louisville. How does Pitt respond to this now that they're down? Well, they just choose to do much more of the same. So they get the ball to Leggett. Leggett is going to dribble around. He really can't get below the three-point line. So instead, he is just going to settle for a deep contested three. That doesn't go in. How does Louisville respond? They go down the floor, find Scott for another dunk. And this was pretty systemic for how the second half would go as to why Pitt could not ever really pull away. It seems like they would get a little momentum. They'd get a stop. Louisville was coughing the ball up quite a bit. Both teams were fouling, so, advantage Pitt because they're a pretty good free throw shooting team, you would think, although they missed the front end of 1-and-1s in this game. And they would just have these momentum killing and stopping possessions where someone would just play hero ball. And clearly they weren't shooting the ball well, particularly Lowe and Leggett. They finished like 2 for 13 from 3. So it's just one of those things where this is why they're where they're at. You cannot run offense like this and think it's going to continue to work when you have guys who are very good, but they're not like NBA lottery good, not even really NBA first round talent good. And I think that's kind of where this team is get caught up. And honestly, even teams that have those types of players can't just run no offense. It just doesn't work this way. And too often Pitt has fallen into this. So a game that was, I would consider this to be somewhat winnable, that I don't want to say they gave away, but they certainly didn't end up doing enough to take advantage of the fact that Louisville was a little bit off their game. That's why Louisville is going to be, the 2 seed going in the ACC tournament, and they're definitely going to make the NCAA tournament. And that's why Pitt is going to be in a position where they have to decide whether or not they want to accept an NIT bid.